Hey guys, it's Ellen here and it's Mini Monday. So we're doing ink and wash again. I'm using the fountain pen with the nib and um, a Sharpie pen in the beginning. I go everything step by step, even how to draw these things. And if you're a Patreon member, of course you can download the traceable that goes with it. If you're not a Patreon member, it's a place where I have ad-free videos, traceables, reference photos, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays, on live stream once a month on the top tier, which I'll be doing this Thursday. And this is a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. You can check it out up here in a second. Boop. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't hit the bell notification button, please do so you know when my tutorials are up. And hey guys, we hit 100K, so thank you so much for being awesome subscribers. I really appreciate you all. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to go over my supplies. I have two 3-inch squares, 100% cotton cold pressed paper from Arsh. My palette, I have my paints in the description box as I use them, paper towels, water jars. I'll be using my Sharpie ultrafine point pen. I'll be using the fountain pen, the fountain ink, and this little nib that I have. My Princeton 8 long round brush to fill in the color. If, like I said, if you're a Patreon member, you could download the traceable. You can watch me kind of draw in the corn. I mean, basically, the corn is pretty simple, straightforward, and, well, maybe not to everybody, but for gourds, the gourds are going to have this curve, and you're going to go like this, right? And then it's going to kind of cut here, and they're going to have the lines kind of like going down like this in the little stem. The gourd is like a pumpkin shape, but they're going to have these little bulbous little, these things that come off and go gourds. And then for corn, you got that corn shape. Just going to line down, kind of curving in, going back. You do like 3 of those. And then you're just making the, the husks of it. It's just these simple, kind of like wavy leaves. Now for corn, I suggest with the pencil, draw some nice rows down. And then you just go do a nice rounded kind of rectangle for each corn kernel. It's kind of a pain in the neck, but that's how you would do it. So that's my simple version of how you draw it. So, of course, I've got my sketch in here already. And that's why I like to use this Sharpie pen, because it's a nice permanent marker. And I'll do the outline. I'm not going to make it smooth. Make it a little bumpy. Kind of like this, like a gourd would look. I draw the stem. Now I'm not going to draw the half line. Oh, I could draw the half line if I wanted to. But I'm just drawing that wiggly kind of whitish line that goes right down the center of the gourd. I could put the little wiggle line in here. Yeah, see, the half line. And like I said, this one's like a pumpkin. It has those bulbous kind of like, I don't know if you would call them pimples or whatever you call them, just things sticking out of the gourds. They're kind of rounded, irregular shaped. So you're kind of drawing like a pumpkin shape, and then you're drawing all these little funky circular, semicircular shapes that the gourd has. And then you can draw some like lines in that stem. And that's the simple gourd one, right? For the corn, again, I have the pencil. I already have my pencil marks in here. So I know that here's the simple, funky, husk leaves I was talking about. I can put those in first. These are kind of pretty easy to draw. Now the corn is a little tricky. I did some pencil rows. Like I said, you're just going to have to take some time and draw all these little kernels. Don't have to make them perfect. Nobody's looking for perfection. But, once you get those all in, I know, I just start with like the pencil line, and then you can just kind of go down to each little kernel. It will get a little smaller down below, see? And then the ones on the side might not show the whole side, the whole kernel, little bits of it. So it's a little rough looking. It doesn't have to be perfect. I like it to look like that. It's very sketchy, artsy kernel. So you get your little corn. Let me zoom in a little more so you can see what I'm talking about. So I have the pencil lines. You see them going down here, and I have my little kernels. So you start off doing these rounded rectangles, right? I start off with do one row. You can see me doing here. And then you could do this ones next to it. It's much easier to do that way. So you get the shape. I have the shape kind of drawn out here with light pencil. And then you're going in and you're doing your rows. And you see my shapes. They're not perfect. They're not supposed to be. It's corn. When have you seen corn kernels looking perfect? If you do, they're like probably genetically modified. Not organic. Indian corn. And obviously it's going to get smaller as we get, down the bottom. Just filling that in. And then there's one peeking behind this one. Again, you're just going to kind of go like this. Put those kernels. Not the general, but the kernel. Like my sense of humor. See, it becomes a little tedious, but it has its purpose. Oops. These kernels kind of look kind of meh there. And you can put a little more dark line, like going around the kernels here. Just kind of giving them... But you can do that with a nib too. I'm going to do that in a little bit. You could put some little lines in here for the husk and add a couple little sprays there. Just like that. Okay. Zooming back out. Once that's all done, ta-da! We're gonna make our colors again. So I erase it with this kneaded eraser. I love it because it takes all the pencil lines out and doesn't have all those little. I hate shavings. I just can't stand them. I don't want them. I don't want to see them. I don't like them. So I love this eraser. It's my pal. So let's mix up some paint. So we got similar colors. I mean, of course, the corn will have maybe some purples and yellows and stuff, but the generalization of both of them will be yellows and oranges. So we got the cadmium yellow deep here, right? Brilliant orange. I'm going to use that. We got this burnt umber, perfect little brown, part of the Indian corn. And then we need like a deep green for this gourd. We can take just Prussian blue. I have my Prussian blue way up here. And I'll grab the yellow. Probably a little more yellow. Get a nice deep green, right? You can add a little brown, a little maybe neutral tint to it, get even deeper. And the gourd, the yellow should have a little orange in it, yellow orange. Yep, a little too much orange. It's constant playing around with getting the right tone. See those colors? You can see those in the gourd. So we already have it drawn in. It's just like simple. It's almost like paint by number. You take the yellow orange color, and that will be filling up the top part, right? Just take your brush, the tip of it. Try not to put too much paint on, too much water on it with the paint. I see I'm trying to be minimal with that. Just kind of fill it in. You could grab some of the orange on your brush itself and kind of bleed in some of this bright orange in some areas. If you want a little neutral, grab a little burnt umber and throw it in the orange so it's not as bright. I'm just kind of bleeding in a little bit of orange. I don't want it just to be this solid yellow. It has a little more interest, don't you think? Now, for the gourd itself, it could be orange, yellow, with some green. So we're going to take that orange that we have, put a little more water here. Just going to kind of put some of this color in here, wet on dry. in here. I'm leaving some white spaces because I'm going to put some of that green in there. I'm going to grab some of this yellow. I can bleed some of that in here. And the little bumps, you can just kind of fill that in also. See, I'm just kind of taking my brush, loosely filling that in. Those little bumps with that yellow orange. You can add a little magenta to that orange, brilliant orange. A little burnt umber. See, I'm just doing that with the tip of my brush. So it's a deeper orange. You can kind of just tap in here, make it a little darker, add a little more brown actually. It's up to you. Just gonna do that in this section. Right next to those little circular things that are sticking out. Right? Clean up my brush. We have that deep green. Take some of that deep green on the tip of the brush. And I'm going to kind of bleed some of that right in here on the bottom, over in here. I'm going to let that dry. I actually want it not to bleed as much, so we're going to wait till this dries. We can go into our gourd now and kind of just put that color in, wet and dry. Just put that in. You can leave some white spaces. Don't have to fill it all the way in because it kind of has some of those like whitish streaks in some of that green. See how I'm leaving some white spaces? I mean, you have that white space in the center, this creamy white space right here. Now I left it white. You could make it more of a cream color and play around with it. I might actually go in and add some cream to it. Here I'm just taking that green, leaving some white spaces. Now, obviously on the bottom and then on the edges, you want a little bit darker. Just grab the tip of your brush, some of that Prussian blue, and then you can just bleed, while it's still damp, some Prussian blue on those edges, just like that. Like magic. I'll zoom in so you can see better. I'm sorry. It's far apart. But you see, I just took the tip of the brush, just grabbed some Prussian blue, and just kind of bled in the color. Now this is drier. I can go back in and grab that green on the tip of the brush and just put in some of that nice deep green. If it's still bleeding, you know, play around with it. Grab some more of this brilliant orange. I'm gonna add some of that to those little circular things. So you can kind of like take your tip of your brush and kind of highlight those little circle things that are sticking out just by going like this on the bottom edge of each little one. And if you want to get really technical, put a little brown next to here and over here. And then the stem can be brown. So I have the burnt umber. I'm going to mix it with some neutral tint. I wanted more of a deeper brown. And I'll just put that in for the stem. It could be green too. Doesn't have to be brown. For a cream color, you know, I have that burnt umber, add a little yellow, water it down, and you got this cream color. Just going to put that lightly in here. The green might bleed into it. I suggest if you're going to do that, you know, if you don't want to leave it white, do that first. I didn't do that first, but hey, sometimes as I'm going along, I just kind of add things. So we're going to let that dry. Also, add a brown stem to your gourd. Well, mine's a little black on the edge. It could be green too. If you're not liking this, you know, you can add a little more. I'm going to add a little more orange, yellow orange, in between the green. The purpose of it is just like that. It's there are different tones in the gourds. You don't have to go too crazy. Okay, the corn. Corn's fun. So we got the colors. I didn't have a purple color. I can just take ultramarine blue I have up here, add some magenta, we get a purple in there. Maybe a little brown to that, so it's not so bright purple. It's Indian corn. Indian corn could have some red too, so we've got the magenta here. Adding a little yellow, a little brown, more magenta. brown. I want like a brownish red. There we go. And we've got our browns and our greens and our yellows. All that fun stuff. Maybe take some of this yellow orange out a little bit. Put it over here. Moving it to the next pile. And make this one just more yellow. With a hint of brown. It's like a brown yellow. Okay. So now this corn, you can kind of just wash in like mostly yellow, then go back in on each little kernel and throw in some purple tones. But if you do that, you know, the purple and the yellow are going to make brown. So you're going to have to leave some kernels that are not yellow, right? So, you know, like I'm saying, you can just do one of the corns like that. The main corn can be the simple, you know, we go crazy putting all little colors in each little kernel like this. You could. Or you could just take a nice, clean off your brush, wash in the yellow, right? And then we can go back in when that dries and we can add. You don't want to do it now because it will bleed and it will be horrible. On this one though, the tip of our brush, we grab that purple color. You will have to get, sorry, too much water. If you have too much water on your brush and it just looks like it's balling up, just take some off with the paper towel. Just gonna grab my purple color again. Okay. See, paper towel. So you're gonna have to go in, I'm sorry, with this one and make yourself a little nuts by putting in the purple. But you know, hey, you're bored. It's very therapeutic, right? Do some purple on this one. Don't leave him high and dry. But you see, I'm just kind of really quickly tapping the color in. Tap, 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 tap. The purple color. I wouldn't do it everywhere. Then I've got that red kind of color. See how it, if you can see that it's got a ball of water. You gotta just take it off with the paper towel. The excess amount of water. So now I'm putting in some red ones. You can put in some pinker ones. Get a little cutesy with the color. Or don't. Putting some red ones in here. Now this should be dry and you can actually put the red ones right in the yellow one too. And grab some browns. I'm gonna grab some of this yellow, orange, Indian corn. Brown is big for that, so I'm gonna put some browns on the yellow one. See, I wouldn't try to do every single one. Grab some orange. I'm trying to keep it mostly yellow. And grab some more orange. And then the red. And some deep brown. Get some brown going in the purple one. More in the shadow area, which would be right next to this corn. Same thing down here. Play around with the colors, guys. You don't have to follow what I'm doing. You can make your Indian corn any color you wish. Just giving you some ideas on how to do it. I mean, if you want to make it more in the red tones, some nice pretty red I'm going to put in here. Some red on this one. Don't get crazy, you know what I mean? Now for the husks, it's just like there can be various tones of like yellow, beiges, browns, gray kind of thing. So I've got that brown. I'm going to add a little yellow to that. I'll water this down. Might even add a little neutral tint color. See, I water it down and then I tap on my paper towel, and then I can put the nice light beigey kind of color tone. Put some here. And like I said, you don't have to keep the same color. Add a little more neutral tint, and it will change the color a little bit. Obviously, you're going to keep it in the browns, whatnot. You can add a little green to it, too, also. I'm grabbing some Prussian blue, mixing with the yellow here. It's a nice green. Put a little green in here in some of the areas, and then go back with the brown. And then you can add some little bit deeper browns too. So I'm going to grab some neutral tint with some darker brown. You're playing around with adding color. See how I just added some deeper brown here, and I'll put some little streaks like this, and maybe some down here and over in here. Because getting closer to the center, it's going to be darker. Can even put a little neutral tint color in here. It's like a fun, simple. I mean, maybe some people think it's hard, but I think a lot of my viewers now have been used to my kind of stuff. And I think they're really growing, and this is pretty easy for them, maybe. For you, if you're new here, maybe not. Okay, see? We got all those colors. We got all that fun stuff. And we got our other one here. And once that dries, both of them, make sure this one's dry. Now see, I didn't like how it bled. I can go and kind of fix it, because I lost some of my green. I can like lift up some of this orange, this color here, just by taking some water and then tapping it on the paper towel. I'll go back in and I'll add some more orange to that area. And the green, I can just take the green, tap it back in there again. Now, in order to do the this nib part of the pen, you gotta wait till everything dries. So I'm gonna wait till everything dries, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna use that fun little tool. And you gotta be really careful with it. All right, guys, if you've seen some of my tutorials, me using this, you know that you gotta be very careful, because you can splot it and then you're done. So put a little on here. What I love about it is it makes these fat and skinny, very sketchy kind of look. I'll tap off any excess on that paper towel. I'll go over the lines that I did. You see, and I'm just kind of wiggling them, pushing down a little bit. It gets a little fatter, and it has that artistic kind of look to it, you know. And a couple of the tricks I've been showing you guys that I do. See, I'm just going to go over some of these lines I'm talking. And then I'll add an element. You know, you see, you just have the gourds here and the cute designs, whatnot. But I'll add a little couple little lines out here like that. You see? And it kind of makes it look like it's moving, but it's also just an artistic element you can do for yourself. So here I'm doing some places a little bit thicker. By the way, if you're ever trying to rush drying on these with this ink, you really have to wait till it completely dries. Don't make the mistake of using a hair dryer. What's going to happen is that ink's going to splat. Because right now it's a little puddly in some places right here. See if I can try and take the ink from that area. But I'm literally going to have to wait till it dries in order to move on, because it will splat everywhere. So see how I kind of just drew in with this ink, and then I'll just go in here underneath, around the gourd. I'll just make these little marks. It just adds a little element to it. Just gives a little more joie la vie, or whatever you want to call it. So that's the gourds. And then have fun again with the corn. Get a little crazy, go outside the lines. See how I'm doing that? Don't have to follow the rules. Rules are made to be broken. Now, if you want to do every little kernel, you make yourself nuts. You could do that. Do those little lines like I talked about. Once you get in a rhythm of using the nib and the pen, you get used to like making some little lines like I just did. I mean, you see, if you're going to go crazy doing all the little kernels, I'm not doing that. I might pick out a few. See, I'm just picking out a few. I'm like, okay, those guys are warranted. But not every single one. If you can zoom in a little better so you can see. So see how I just did a few of these little kernels? Just going underneath and around, highlighting them. You could, sorry, banging everything. I wouldn't do everyone. Yeah, see, that one bled a little bit. It's okay if it does that. Looks kind of cool. Again, I'll take the nib and I'll make a little movement, excuse me, little marks. And it looks pretty artistic. Sketchy. That's sketchy look. And you can put some lines going down. And that would be our ink and wash. My fingers, right? Oops. There we go. Sometimes I can't tell if I zoomed in or not. So that's the ink and wash. Look at my fingers, already inked up. Now still this is pretty wet. But you see we took the drawing, and then when you add that nib with the ink, it just adds that extra something, you know what I mean? And you can do the little lines around it, and it just really just has that action movement kind of look to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial for Mini Monday Madness. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't checked out my Patreon, check out that for the traceables. And I have ad-free videos, exclusive tutorials, and live stream once a month on Top Tier. I'll have one on Thursday. So yeah, check it out. And thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you guys for all you. I mean, I can't believe I hit 100K. It's so fantastic. Thank you guys so much. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. I can't even talk.